What's going on, guys? So good to see y'all. So good to see y'all. Look, before we get started, I know who you are, but if you could just tell our viewers your name, your major or profession, so they can get a little bit of feeling who you are.
So I am Dejane Lawrence. I attend Claflin University in Orangeburg, South Carolina. I'm a mass communications major with a concentration in public relations, and I'm a marketing minor.
Awesome.
I'm Dejane's mom, Tara Pope-Leggett. I am in finance, and I'm so proud to be here with my daughter, talking with Joseph.
Yes, yes, wow. So it's been a year and a half since you guys participated in our first Africa trip. And I want to just help people understand, number one, the application process. Just let me know your thoughts on that. Like, how was it when you went to the interview? Were you nervous? What was going on for you?
I was nervous just because I'm sitting in a room where all eyes are on me, and I felt like I was being interrogated.
Yeah.
But it was overall, it was really good. I felt like I delivered the answers in the way that I wanted it to be delivered, and I felt like I showed you who I was based on how I answered my questions, based off of how I was interacting with each and every one of you, giving each and every one of you eye contact.
Yeah.
So I made sure that I ticked off those interview essentials that you do when you're in an interview.
Yes, and you did awesome, by the way.
Thank
But
you.
I mean, like we were literally blown away by to be able to deliver an interview like that at a young age. Like without, I'm not saying that you haven't had the skills or taught, but without going through experience of several professional interviews, you projected that. So now you finally, we give you a call, or I think it was an email, you get accepted, you're going to Africa. What's the emotion going on?
So at first I was like, oh, this is too good to be true. Here I am, little Dejane Lawrence from Elizabeth, New Jersey, and I'm presented the opportunity to go to Africa, not for a trip, but it was a learning experience. It wasn't a trip, it wasn't a vacation, it was a learning experience. And all I had to do was show up, be attentive, be open-minded, and I'm like, this can't be real.
Correct.
But then as the day started approaching, we had information sessions. I was getting emails from you. I'm like, okay, this is getting a little bit too real for me. This is really happening. And then departure day came. Here I am at the airport about to board the plane. I'm like, oh yeah, this is it.
Yeah.
This is a real deal.
So for those who don't know, we applied for, we had our first Africa trip, Birthright trip to Africa, where we took two students, and we paid for a full trip for them to go to Africa to learn about the history and so forth. And Dejane was one of the recipients to go. So you were excited, you go. Ms. Pope, tell me, how did you feel, right? You're new to this foundation, you really don't know much about it, and someone go overseas, like, please share your thoughts.
First off, I'd like to thank Brittany Bethea and Daphne Bethea for even referring her and giving her the opportunity. Once the excitement wore off, here. I mean, we've traveled, but she's traveled with mommy. She's never traveled alone and with a group of people who I've never met. I was terrified. But as the process went on, and I met you guys, and I met another parent who was going, and I just felt a little more ease. I had to put trust in her, and her being responsible, and my raising her. And then I also trusted Daphne and Brittany because they know you. And they did talk to me, and Daphne told me about when Brittany went to Africa, so that eased me. So we had a great support system. Did the fear subside? A little bit, but I had contact with her. I had contact with you. It was like, actually, as the trip went on and seeing her pictures and talking to her on WhatsApp, and it was my experience, my family's, it was like a big thing, and it was a little overwhelming. I mean, I found myself crying because I could not believe my daughter was at my dream trip, So, and it was an experience. It was an experience.
So let's get into it. So the Africa trip, if you can describe your experience in Africa, like what was it like?
It was amazing. It was eye-opening. It was informative. I loved how you made it so that every day we were doing something that wasn't mainly just what tourists do. They were educational.
Yeah.
We went on the tour. We saw parliament buildings.
Yeah.
We had doctors come in and people who specialize in the field that they specialize in come and talk to us. And I'm like, yeah.
That's legit.
I like this. This is more than this. This is, like I said, a learning experiences. I'm learning from my peers. I'm learning from doctors and directors and tech gurus. It was honestly amazing, and the hospitality was just off the charts when we went to dinner with your parents and your family members. It was like, I felt like I was a part of your family because that's the way that they treated me, and it just gave me a little taste of what culture is like, what the history is, and it amazing.
That's so awesome. So I'll be honest, it's one thing to experience it, but when I watched the video that we put together, the playback, literally I almost cried. Like I got choked up the first time. Even the small, and you probably didn't pay attention to this, even the small snippet where I see you kind of going in the airport, walking through, you finally land, and I greet you. I'm like, hey, so I give you a hug, and we get in the bus. Like I remember it. I was like, wow. So now, like, I would love to like pick your brain. How does it feel like when you're driving? I know it was nighttime, but even during the day and the day so after, seeing billboards with all black people, like from the janitor to the CEO to the president, like it's not like we're not like boxed into a corner. Like everybody's your complexion. Like what kind of impact did that have for you?
So from when I was like little in school and in my community of Elizabeth, New Jersey, I wasn't the majority, I was always the minority. Even in my classrooms, I was like maybe one of two black kids in the classroom, maybe even the whole graduating class. Like it was, I never really thought much about it just because that's what I was used to. But then I land in Africa and all I'm seeing is people that look like me but don't necessarily look like me. And it was empowering just because, like I said before, you had people come and talk to us, black professionals come and talk to us. So it's different when you're being taught by people that look like you.
That's true.
The experience hits different because in a way I see myself in them, a little part of, even though I'm in communications and it's not the same field as tech or history, I still see myself becoming a doctor and, talking to young black girls and boys, hoping that they see themselves in me when they get older. And I want to inspire just as the people you had come and talk to us inspired me. So it was empowering.
So we were very intentional, and this is good for you to know too, Ms. Pope. We were very intentional about who we put in front of Dejane, right? One of the first things we did is we had a professor who, by the way, was I forget what they call it, like a scholar who came to the States and actually taught in Duke. He's a brilliant mind when it comes to African history. And we started by teaching them, like, understand what your legacy is. Like, it's not slavery. Like, the world didn't start with black people there. The contributions that black people made to the world, number one, is enormous, and it's rich that people don't talk about. Anything that stuck out from that session that we had?
Yes, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Eric Aseka?
Yes.
Yes, he came to speak, and there's one thing that still rings in the back of my mind when I hear him speak. It's that he said that Africa has one of the most fastest growing economies.
Yeah.
And, given that I've only learned what I've taught in school, and that's slavery, the MLK, and you never hear about anything other than that. It's usually always comes back to slavery.
Yeah.
So the fact that, Africa, being considered one of the poorest continents, it has one of the fastest growing economies. You don't connect the two things, and I think that is just amazing just because that's something that I didn't know.
Yeah.
It's something that I'm pretty sure people over here don't know, which they need to inform themselves on, because I think of it as Africa is moving in silence.
100%.
It's moving in silence.
Definitely.
So when it gets here, you know, you're gonna be in for a rude awakening.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so people don't know, so 6 out of I think it was 6 out of 10 fastest growing economies in the world are in Africa right now. There is enormous potential. And I think that was the other component, was it wasn't just that our history is rich, but there's a bright future. And Dejane, we all play a role in that. We're not separated, like there's some unity there. I think the thing that stuck out for me was, you know, when they talked about the contributions that African made for people like Plato and Socrates. I remember that they went to Africa to actually build their pedigree, their philosophical pedigree. Like, that's where they learned from. These are people that we look at and like, oh snap, they got their stuff from Africa. So I think, to me, that was pretty cool. So let me ask you this question. The orphanage, I want to shift a little bit to that, because one of the things we do this trip is really teaching people about advocacy and advocating for people at a global scale, specifically the orphanage. What was the experience like for you, like going visiting the children's orphanage?
Just so that you can see it through my eyes, when I was on the bus, we turned that corner.
Yeah.
They greeted us with these pink flowers, and they were singing and riding along with us as we drove to the entrance of the orphanage. And then once we got off the bus, it was like it was raining flowers all over the place because they were throwing it in the air at us as we exited off the bus. And all I could do was smile, and that joy continued into the performance that they put together. All they had was buckets that they used for drums, bottle caps that they used for tambourines. Like, the creativity was off the charts. And, you know, the experience overall, it made me happy, and it also humbled me in a sense. Here they are using the resources that they have, and that's what makes them happy. Whereas people over here, you can't have a Gucci and all this money and a Fendi and a Prada, and you still won't be satisfied with what you have. And it's a true testament to the quote, like, money does not make you happy.
That's
just
true.
Making do with what you have, and making a way with the situations that you're put in, and, you know, finding the joy and the light in that is what makes you happy. Yeah. So I loved it.
Yeah. Were you able to see some of the pictures and videos from the
Yes,
orphanage?
I did. I did see pictures from the orphanage, and I asked her, like, how did that make her feel? And she did, the first word she said was, it was humbling. And, you know, the little children, they looked very happy. And even though I don't know their background, I don't know the story, I don't know the hardships they've gone through, it did make me appreciate the fact that she did get to experience that. Because, you know, she complained, you know, at one time you may complain, oh, I don't want to eat this, I don't want to eat that, you know, and and, you know, you need to be grateful for what you have. And you know, there are people who are worse off than you, and by far, and appreciate it. Like, everything that you are given, you have to, it's definitely a privilege.
Yeah. So you can't talk Africa without talking safari. Mm-hmm. What do you think about, like, because I know, I remember when we were doing the, I think it was the informational sessions, and you were wondering, like, yo, listen, are we gonna be staying in, like, reasonable places? I did all the research, we good. But what was the safari? And I'm curious to know if we landed where we tried to do, but what were your thoughts of the overall safari experience?
I loved it. I loved not only where we stayed, but what we saw as we were out on the safari. You know, we woke up early, and you know, we got to see the animals that weren't caged up in a zoo like pet animals.
Free. They
were in their natural habitats, what they do naturally in their habitat.
Yeah, of course.
So it was something that I'm glad that I experienced, just because that's like, for my age, that was like a once in a lifetime
Of course.
opportunity, which I hope to one day make that more as we progress with the foundation and its objective.
Sure. Do you see yourself contributing to the continent again at some point? Not necessarily your money, right? It could be your time, your energy, your resources. Do you feel like connection where like you would want to go back? Like there is a place that you're welcomed?
I do, just because of my connection with you and the foundation.
Yeah.
I believe that as I, grow with you guys, I can stay connected and, help future scholars
Yes.
in their experience with the foundation. And one day maybe whatever you have planned for the foundation, I want to be a part of that.
Sure.
And that would in turn, allow me to contribute to the continent through my connection with you. So in the future, once I have my degree, but right now I'll do it in the littlest ways that I can, in any way that I can. You call, I'm there.
Yeah. So my first order of business is getting you to come to Africa, Mrs. Pope. We gotta figure out how to get you.
Definitely have to go. Yes, definitely have to make a trip.
But so we're doing this Birthright trip again in 2022, and we're going to be doing it every other year. We had to pause because of obviously COVID, but we are expanding it past just students. I think we want to open it to all people, especially Black people, because I do think there's a need for us to go back and to learn, right? One of the things they talk about, not to get like spiritual or anything, but like this whole concept of Babylon, right? When they went to Babylon, they had to go back to their home so they can remember who they are. Like we can't free ourselves, right? Unless sometimes we get to go back. And I think one of the struggles we have as, African Americans especially, is that we don't have an identity. Like there's nothing we pull from. Most other cultures have something they can pull from. Chinese, they can pull from something, but what we pull from is what was told to us. And there's just so much more. Ms. Pope, if you could just talk to the parents for a second, and what would you advise them as they consider their children's going on a birthright trip to Africa?
The first thing I would say to the parent is, if you trust in how you raised your child, everything else will fall into place. And that's what happened for me. After I met you and the people from the foundation, I had to rely on her and how I raised her and her behavior and put the responsibility on her as well, not just on you guys to make sure that she's okay. So I tell them, trust in your process and how you raised your child. And if you feel your child is mature enough to be able to go on a trip like this, because you have to be focused. You have to be focused, and you have to be responsible for your own actions. And I would say to the parents, get as much information as you can. Utilize. I called, I emailed, I utilized those. Yeah. I love it. You're there. That's what you're there for, to put us at ease and allowing us to let our children, experience this with you. So, and it was a great experience. I was not there physically, but I was there because she sent videos, she sent pictures, and it was like my entire family experienced this with her, and it was a beautiful experience.
So let me just say this: you've done a phenomenal job raising Dejane. When we think of the foundation and the kids that we want to pour into, and not just for a moment of time, but their lives, like she's the perfect prototype. She's ambitious. She knows what she wants. You could tell she was raised in a good home, right? And we just want to play our part in just helping her get to wherever she wants to get to. Any thoughts or words you want to say for students or people who are considering going to Birthright trip in general?
Yes, 3 things. Come with an open heart, an open mind, and an empty stomach.
We ate a lot. We ate a lot.
Open heart and open mind. Be open to the culture. Be open to the people. Be open to the information. Be open to the resources that are being provided to you through the lectures and the tours and the museums. Be open to that. And the food,
We ate a lot.
oh my goodness.
It was
And
good
this-
food though.
This was right before I went to college, so my freshman 15 was actually like a freshman 20, yeah. So the food was phenomenal, and then when I got back to like McDonald's and Chipotle, when I just came off of fresh food and fresh and squeezed juice.
Yeah.
But overall, it was open heart, open mind, empty stomach. Those are my three things.
I love it. So I want to thank you guys for taking the risk on us. You guys were our first students going to Africa. And it was just an idea, literally like me sitting in my house, and I'm like, we got to do more. And I wanted to put my money where my mouth was, and I wanted to pick the right people that appreciate it. And you guys, because of you now, we're going to have more and more kids go. We look forward to being part of your life and moving forward, and obviously you have full access to us. So thanks for having this conversation with me. Birthright 2022, we will be getting more details on that. But again, thank you for sharing your experiences with us.
Thank you so much.
Awesome, you got it. All right, cool.